Fine, thank you.
Esteemed dais, the person who sowed the seeds of what we are calling as a national education policy today, some 12 years back, Professor Dinesh Singh ji, Professor Anand sir, Professor Umesh Rai ji, Professor Bechan ji, other scholars who are here from different parts of the city, colleagues, students. I'm delighted to be here with you to share my half-baked understanding about Gandhian lens of seeing national education policy. I'm thankful to organizers, particularly to Professor Madan Chaturvedi ji and Amit, who gave this opportunity to me to be with you today. Before I talk about my unstructured views, my disclaimer is that Gandhi's vision of education, philosophy, that cannot be understood without living as Gandhi. The great scientist Einstein, in his book, The World as I See It, quotes twice that Gandhi is at par with Moses and Jesus. So somebody who has acquired divinity in the eyes of the great scientist of the time, understanding the views, philosophy, and religiosity, it is not possible if we are looking at things from human perspective. But as it is mandated, therefore I'm making dwarfish attempts to see the relevance, the lens, the eyes, the vision of Gandhi about education and national education policy of today. Gandhian way of looking at life as such was to create life as a lab, to make experiments there. And experiments, not a structured experiment, where you know that what salt you are testing and what results you will get, which color ring you are going to get. Rather a lab where you are bound to get failures, and making failures as a launching pad to reach to success in subsequent rounds. And not fixating with any reality. We all know that Gandhi used to take goat milk. An instance Gandhi quotes that when I was in South Africa, I was practicing vegetarianism. I came across a book, How to Be a Vegetarian. And there Gandhi finds that milk is non-vegetarian and takes a vow that henceforth I will not take milk because mother's milk is necessarily for its offsprings, for its babies. तो गांधी ने कहा कि गाय और भैंस, इनके बछड़ों पे इनके दूध का अधिकार है और इंसान बिना दूध के जी सकता है और दूध नॉन वेजिटेरियन है, तो आज से मैं दूध छोड़ रहा हूं। यही गांधी दशकों बाद जब भारत आते हैं और एक बार उनकी तबीयत खराब हो जाती है, he had a bad dysentery, and Gandhi says that Sabarmati station, railway station, is just couple of yards away, but I'm not able to walk, I'm so weak. And for months together, doctors, hakims, vats, they're trying hard to persuade Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi to either take non-vegetarian or take egg or take at least milk. पर गांधी जी का सत्य स्थापित था कि दूध को नहीं पीना है। तो कस्तूरबाई ने एक डॉक्टर की मौजूदगी में कहा कि तुमने कहा था कि गाय और भैंस का दूध नहीं पीऊंगा, तो बकरी का तो पी सकते हो। And experimentalist Gandhi says that I feel defeated because Kasturbai is playing with the words. She is going by the letter, not going by the spirit, but I accept it. Accepting it for a larger cause. That's what Gandhi writes in his Experiments with the Truth. He says that larger cause for the time being is not my health, not that I want to have more muscles, but the Rowlatt Act is there which needs to be opposed tooth and nail. And for that I need physical and mental strength. Therefore I accept that yes, now I will take goat milk. This is what is Gandhi. Experimenting, reaching to the newer realities. The instance which is there in everybody's cognition that despite having a genuine, valid first-class ticket, Gandhi was detained at Mariatsburg railway station. And he writes that my luggage is with the railway authorities, I'm shivering, but not able to muster courage to ask for my overcoat, which is lying in the luggage because I'm scared. Next morning, from Mariatsburg, Gandhi goes to other station, Crossdown or something. And from Crossdown, when Gandhi is going to Johannesburg, because he has to reach to Pretoria to look after the case of his employer, Seth Abdullah. On the way, again Gandhi is being misbehaved by a Britisher. Britisher goes for hitting Gandhi. Gandhi has blows. Next morning, when he has to move from Johannesburg to Pretoria, this Gandhi who is detrained, this Gandhi who is hit, but this experimentalist Gandhi goes to station master and says, give me first class ticket. तीसरे ही दिन, this is where Gandhi is making his life a lab. There is a need to understand that are we there to make our education system a laboratory where we will experiment, and the failures also we will take a step forward for the success, and we would be so zealous that these small failures, hiccups, inhibitions will not stop us to reach to some other milestone. That what needs to be there. There is a possibility there in this national education policy. Apart from this, when we look at some of the great thinkers in the domain of the psychology who have worked in the area of Gandhian way of looking at things, a name very prominently comes, that is Erik Erikson, who talks about in his book Gandhi's Truth, origin of militant nonviolence. And Erikson says that one incident of Maritzburg is a redefining moment for Gandhi. Gandhi rediscovers himself. Because when he is sitting there in the waiting room of Maritzburg station, Gandhi is thinking about that, what should I do? Should I pocket this insult and go back to India? Have a decent life, better life than what it is here? Or should I stand for my own cause? He said that no, both of them are not wrong. Both of them are not right. Escapist. I have not to stand for my own cause. I have to stand for a larger cause. I will not go by the grandeur. I will go by the grand narrative. और वो सैमीज और कुलीज जो इस देश में रह रहे हैं, उनकी जो अंतर पीड़ा है, उस पीड़ा के लिए मैं खड़ा होऊंगा। और ये भागने का समय नहीं है। ये वो गांधी हैं जो लिखते हैं कि मेरे महीनों की बॉम्बे से विलायत की यात्रा में मैं सिर्फ 2 लोगों से बात कर पाया क्योंकि मुझे बात करने में बहुत असहजता थी। But Erik Erikson writes that this is the redefining moment. Can we go for creating such occasions in our present conformist education system? I remember that there was a professor of quantitative techniques when I was doing my masters at D school. तो अगर हम सिंबल्स गलत अलग लिख देते थे, अगर उन्होंने ऑर्डरिंग कॉस्ट को C सबस्क्रिप्ट O लिखा है अपनी क्लास में और हम उसको A लिख देते थे तो नंबर काट लेते थे. So with such conformist approach in our mind, the relevance of Gandhi needs to be thought over. Because for Gandhi, nothing comes as the truth. Time and again he goes for making a mention. The second issue, which I'm taking from the work of Howard Gardner, who is established name in the domain of intelligence, a person who gave the concept of multiple intelligence. Prior to that, we were talking about the natural intelligence. And a person who coined the term emotional intelligence. Later on, people, they took it forward, and Goldman is known for that. Howard Gardner has gone for studying 7 big personalities. Some of the names I remember, Einstein was one of them. Picasso was one of them. Gandhi was one of them. Freud was one of them. And there Gardner says that in all these 7 big people, one thing is very common. And he says that this is Faustian bargain. That these people have been able to rise head and shoulder above their personal cause and are able to look at something which is beyond, something which is very subtle, something which is very inclusive, something which goes for taking all parts of the society together. And that is why Gardner says that it is Gandhi who on different occasions has gone for proving that no, I'm not something who will get stale and stagnated here. Because my thinking is very large, जिसमें सब कुछ समाहित है. तो क्या हमारी शिक्षा सब कुछ और समाहित कर पा रही है? और सबको, रेटरिक को छोड़ के, inclusivity, it appears to be a rhetoric. Is it able to bring in real sense of the term inclusivity? And are we there to accept that inclusivity the way it is perceived, cognitized, thought of? In order to prove this, the larger goal, couple of instances I will quote. That Gandhi says that my understanding of religion was very anecdotal. What I heard from my mother, my father, and a father's friend about religion, that was what was my understanding. But when I started staying in South Africa, so I met a couple of Christian friends who started inviting me in their masses. And I had no inhibition to attend their masses. But as they started proving that their religion is bigger and better than my religion, तो गांधी ने कहा कि मैं तो वहां पे बहुत असहाय था, क्योंकि धर्म के बारे में मेरी कोई समझ नहीं थी, तो मैंने धर्म को पढ़ना शुरू किया. तो गांधी कहते हैं कि फिर मेरे हाथ गीता लगी, गीता का अंग्रेजी तर्जुमा लगा और मैंने उसको पढ़ा, और फिर गीता मेरे जीवन का वो ग्रंथ बन गया कि किसी मुश्किलात में मैं गीता के कुछ श्लोक, कुछ पन्ने पलटता था और मुझे वहां उसका हल मिलता था. And then I was able to give befitting reply, not to prove that my religion is superior to yours religion, but what is the perspective. And Gandhi writes that the respect which I earned in eyes of those religious preachers was much better than when I started speaking from educated perspective, because I was able to create the grandeur of the religion, not standing against the Christianity, but talking about the merit of inclusivity, talking about the Virat, जो सारी अच्छाइयों और सारी बुराइयों को एक साथ समाहित किए हुए है. 10वें अध्याय में भगवान कृष्ण ने कहा कि अच्छाइयों की अच्छाई मैं हूं और बुराइयों की बुराई मैं हूं. विष्णुनाम वासुदेव अस्मि पांडवानाम धनंजय, कविनाम अपि अहम कविनाम उष्णा कवि, ऋषिनाम अपि अहम व्यास, द्यूतम छल्यताम अस्मि तेजो तेजस्विनाम अहम जय अस्मि व्यवसाय अस्मि सत्वम सत्वताम अहम. यादवों में मैं वासुदेव हूं, पांडवों में धनंजय हूं, कवियों में शुक्राचार्य हूं, उष्णा कवि हूं, ऋषियों में मैं व्यास हूं, लोगों का तप, तेज, रेडियंस मैं हूं, और छल करने वाली विधा का जो अंतिम है जुआ, वो मैं ही हूं. This is inclusivity, bad of bad and good of good. Gandhi says that I have to go for creating a Virat, where everybody is able to see the image, what Arjun saw in chapter 11. क्योंकि सारा 10वें अध्याय में भगवान कृष्ण के सब कुछ कहने के बाद भी अर्जुन के मन में संशय था, तो अर्जुन ने कहा कि प्रभु ये जो आपने बताया ये ऑडियो तो ठीक है, क्या वीडियो दिखा सकते हो? तो 11वें अध्याय में वीडियो देखा, भगवान कृष्ण का वीडियो अर्जुन ने देखा, and saw that everything is there, everyone is able to see himself, herself there in Virat. This what was the Faustian bargain of Gandhi. Looking at the grand narrative, when for the first time from Natal, Gandhi, after completing his work with Abdullah Seth, decides to come back to India, much before when actually he came. So then the residents of Natal, Indians, they went for bidding farewell to Gandhi and offered good set of gifts, including ornaments and jewelry. Huge. Gandhi writes that I could not sleep that night. I thought that what has been given by the residents, is it given to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi? Or is given to a person who was working for the community, a larger cause? और सुबह तक गांधी जी ने डिसाइड किया कि ना ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, ये उस व्यक्ति के लिए है जो समाज के लिए काम कर रहा था, जो किसी बड़े मूल्य की स्थापना कर रहा था. तो अगर ये उसके लिए है तो इसमें मेरा अधिकार ही नहीं है. पर गांधी जी ने कहा कि इसमें मुश्किलात की एक ही बात है, ये गहने. बोले ये बा जो है कस्तूरबाई, ये मानेगी नहीं गहने देने के लिए. सो गांधी प्लेड ट्रिक. ही राइट्स कि मैंने अपने दो बच्चों को, दोनों बेटों को बुला के समझाया कि इस पे मेरा अधिकार नहीं है और ये तो कम्युनिटी का है, तो हम इसको कम्युनिटी को दे देंगे. और देखो गहनों की बात तुम्हारी अगर मां कहेगी तो तुम बताओ किसको देना चाहिए. बच्चे कहे आप जो कह रहे हैं ठीक है, इसको भी कम्युनिटी को दे दीजिए. एंड नेक्स्ट डे, नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग, गांधी हैड वेरी टफ टाइम to negotiate with Kasturbai, but negotiates, and whatever has been given by the community, Gandhi gives back to the community that please use it for cause of yourself, community cause, not for individual's cause. This is Faustian bargain. Gandhi's friend, English person, he is also weaving satyagrah in himself, impressed by Gandhi under the influence of Gandhian way of looking at things. When Gandhi is moving from South Africa to England, this English person is there with Gandhi. And one day he is using his binocular, expensive binocular, to see the ocean's view. He is very fond of binoculars. Gandhi says, his name is Kellen Batch. Gandhi says, Kellen, you practice satyagrah. You say that you also want to live a very simple life. But why you are having such expensive binocular? And Gandhi says that without taking a minute, Kellen Batch goes for throwing binocular there in the sea, which was as costly as 8 pounds those days. Gandhi then decides that my belief in religion should not be only at the level of speaking. मेरा आचार, मेरा विचार और मेरा व्यवहार तीनों में सामंजस्य स्थापित होना चाहिए. तो गांधी ने कहा कि जो रिलीजन का स्रोत है, जो उसका मूल है, वो ईश्वर है. और अगर मेरी धर्म में आस्था है तो मेरी ईश्वर में आस्था है, और अगर मेरी ईश्वर में आस्था है तो ईश्वर सब कुछ मैनेज करने वाला है. और यही भूत भविष्य वर्तमान, अगर तीनों का नियंत्रण ईश्वर है तो मुझे भविष्य की चिंता करने की क्या आवश्यकता है. और गांधी ने जो दूसरी बार अफ्रीका जाने से पहले बॉम्बे में एक लाइफ इंश्योरेंस की पॉलिसी खरीदी थी, एजेंट को गांधी ने लिखा कि मेरी उस इंश्योरेंस की पॉलिसी को सरेंडर कर दो, और यदि उससे कुछ सरेंडर वैल्यू मिलती है तो मुझे दे देना किसी को बताया कि बॉम्बे में दे देना, नहीं मिलती है तो भी I don't want to continue this policy. And whatever savings Gandhi had, he sends it back to his elder brother, एक नोट के साथ कि भैया जी आज आपको भेज रहा हूं, आगे से मत मांगिएगा, क्योंकि मैंने ये डिसाइड किया है कि मैं कुछ भी संचय नहीं करूंगा भविष्य के लिए, क्योंकि मेरा जीवन त्याग का है, अपरिग्रह का है। मैं सिर्फ उतना ही रखूंगा जो वर्तमान में मेरी आवश्यकताओं के लिए जरूरी है। The kind of consumerism which has been created in this market-driven way of looking at things, the options which market is creating, which is largely supply-driven, not the demand-driven, how we are going to place the education and how we are going to have the interface of the academia and industry, that only when it rolls out, things will be taking time to get settled. The third issue is management of paradoxes by Gandhi. Gandhi is fighting against British Raj. And when he is in South Africa, then against the British Raj, there is a Boer War. And the person who is fighting against British Raj goes for lending the help to British Raj in that war and writes a letter that I, along with my community members, are accessible to the government for nursing the war injured. At the age of 28, 10 years after that, when he goes to England, the Kallenbach story what I was telling, when he goes to England, again there is a war. And this time again Gandhi, by this time Gandhi was established. Now he is coming back from South Africa to India. He again writes to Lord Crewe and says that I, along with all residents of Asia who are there with me, they are there to lend their help to you to help the war-injured, war victims. Managing the paradoxes. एक साम्राज्य जिसका सूरज अस्त नहीं होता है, उसके खिलाफ खड़े हुए गांधी उसी साम्राज्य के ऊपर जब विपत्ति आती है तो कहते हैं कि ये जो युद्ध में घायल लोग हैं उनके लिए मैं हूं यहां पे. And he had a lot of criticism, but he accepts it. Gandhi, who is fighting with the British Raj, at the same time is worrying about that what would be the fate of the country when we get Swaraj. So it is not that only going by the emotions that we want independence, we want Swaraj. Combining both, working on both paradoxes, looking at the oxymorons of both the narratives. Are we able to embed it in our education system? Will this national education policy be able to enable us the paradoxes of life, be it professional, social, personal, would be addressed if it is implemented? If paradoxes we are seeing in terms of multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity, what Professor Dinesh Singh was talking yesterday, that interdisciplinarity के नाम में कॉमर्स में एक ज्योग्राफी का कोर्स खोल देते हैं और ज्योग्राफी में एक हिस्ट्री का कोर्स खोल देते हैं. पर हिस्ट्री की जब बात की जाए तो ज्योग्राफी वालों को कितनी समझ में आ रही है और वहां वो अपने आप को देख पा रहा है कि नहीं देख पा रहा है, वो इंटरडिसिप्लिनैरिटी को डिसाइड करेगा कि ये इस सफलता मिली या विफलता मिली. कोर्स खोल देने से इंटरडिसिप्लिनैरिटी नहीं आएगी। Gandhi is doing multiple tasks. Gandhi is editor, Gandhi is writer, Gandhi is janitor who is cleaning latrine, Gandhi is using his hands to use that charkha, गांधी जी अपने लिए भोजन बना रहे हैं, गांधी जी नर्सिंग कर रहे हैं, गांधी भाषण दे रहे हैं, गांधी ड्राफ्ट तैयार कर रहे हैं, गांधी कोर्ट में अपीयर कर रहे हैं। एंड दिस मल्टीटास्कर गांधी is able to justify himself in every role. जिसमें परस्पर विरोधी और परस्पर अपवर्जी बहुत सारे क्रियाकलाप हैं, पर उनके बीच में एक सिम्बियोटिक रिलेशनशिप स्थापित करना और उसको लेके आगे बढ़ना, दिस व्हाट गांधी इज। Fourth, that Gandhi is not in hurry. Gandhi is taking, it's very reconciled person. Three big movements apart from Champaran, Kheda and Khilafat, जो तीन बड़े आंदोलन गांधी जी ने अपने नेतृत्व में किए, जिसमें असहयोग, सिविल डिसोबीडियंस और क्विट इंडिया, अगर इनके बीच के अंतराल को आप देखें तो तकरीबन 10-12 साल का फर्क है। 1920, 1930 और 1942। तो ये व्यक्ति जो अपने जीवन को प्रयोगशाला बना के तमाम सारे प्रयोग कर रहा है, उसको कुछ बनने की इच्छा नहीं है। बिकॉज फॉर गांधी एजुकेशन इज नॉट एन इश्यू, एजुकेशन इज अ कंसर्न, एजुकेशन इज नॉट अ मैनेजमेंट, एजुकेशन इज एंगेजमेंट। आई एम सॉरी टू से, in present times education has become more of management of admissions, management of classes, management of attendance, management of examination, management of degrees. यानी जो है वो नहीं, कुछ और in the process of the management, the organicity of the education that is lost. Gandhi is holding that organicity, is sowing the seeds and waiting for seeds to convert into seedlings and seedlings into saplings and saplings into plants and plants into trees. कहीं जल्दी में नहीं है गांधी। I remember when Dinesh sir was Vice Chancellor, he took over in October or November 2010. And first meeting we had at Vice Chancellor's residence in the month of December 2010. And he shared his vision about bringing change in education. And four of us, in addition to him, were there. Anand sir was there, Professor Umesh Rai was there, Professor Madan Chaturvedi was there, and I was there. And since December 2010, for next 2.5 years, we kept on working on bringing change there in the educational philosophy. And it is not that 5 of us will sit and deliberate and will have a self-celebratory monologue that what we are thinking is the ultimate and the last. We deliberated, we brought a blueprint, and we tested it. where in the laps of different stakeholders. हमने विद्यार्थियों को बुलाया. विद्यार्थियों की तादाद अगर मुझे एग्जैक्टली याद नहीं है, पर 25,000 से 30,000 के बीच में विद्यार्थियों को अलग अलग चरणों में उनसे बातचीत की गई. सारे विषय के अध्यापकों के साथ उस मुद्दे को लेके 2 साल तक चर्चा होती रही. अलग अलग शिक्षाविदों से उस फ्रेमवर्क पे चर्चा होती रही. और 2012 के आखिर में, चूंकि वो होलिस्टिक और ऑर्गेनिक शिक्षा नीति लेके आनी थी, तो एक एकेडमिक कांग्रेस सर ने विजुलाइज किया. और उस एकेडमिक कांग्रेस में अब सिर्फ विद्यार्थी, अध्यापक, उनके पेरेंट्स ही नहीं थे या शिक्षाविद ही नहीं थे. अब हमने बुलाया म्यूजिशियंस को, बिकॉज ऑफन ही टॉक्स अबाउट लिसनिंग द इनर ड्रम बीट्स, referring Gandhi that Gandhi used to look at his inner callings, and that what the education must empower, must give the freedom to the students that should be able to look at the inner drum beats. क्योंकि वो गांधी जो बात नहीं कर पा रहा है लोगों से, जिस दिन वो खड़ा होता है उस दिन दुनिया उसको सुनने के लिए खड़ी हो जाती है. So we call musicians, we call philosophers, we call sports persons, we call technology people, we call industry people. And at that time, whosoever was available and falling in the list of who's who of this country was there in Delhi University for 3 days. We tested the framework, got approved with, of course, some modifications. Then the statutory processes started, and finally gave the shape to what the fruit we are seeing, national education policy. At that time, Delhi University was 12 years ahead of the time. When the first presentation was given at Jaipur, Kasturi Ranjan Saab was making the presentation. Somebody asked, अरे जो आप आज यहाँ पे बता रहे हैं ये तो प्रोफेसर दिनेश सिंह ने बहुत पहले कर दिया था. तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ, वो समय से आगे चल रहे थे. Maybe the seeds what he has gone for sowing, it has come as ripe fruit. This what Gandhi did. Was not in hurry at all. And in this process of giving time, making you to get reconciled with your issues, and not saying that what you are doing is a final product. There is a need to get engaged there in the process. This what is the mandate of national education policy. It is not talking about the product. Education should not talk about the product. If you look at all big institutions of the world, उनके पास प्लेसमेंट सेल नहीं है. उनके बच्चे प्लेस होते हैं. हमारी एंजाइटी, हमारे एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस की सबसे बड़ी चिंता यह है कि प्लेसमेंट कैसे कराएं बच्चों को, और हमारी रेटिंग उसी बेसिस पे डिसाइड की जाती है कि अगर आपने ज्यादा प्लेस करा दिया तो आप अच्छे हैं, आपने कम प्लेस कराया तो आप खराब संस्था हैं. गांधी इज नॉट वरीड अबाउट दैट. He is talking about Swavalamban. He is talking about creating a connect. And he is saying that in this journey of life, whatever sojourns are there, whatever the scenic beauties on the way you are seeing, enjoy it. इस बात से परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं है कि पहुंचना कब है. जरूरत है कि जो रास्ते में दिख रहा है उसका आनंद लें. तो क्या ये राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति हमें वो आनंद दे पाएगी? और अगर वो आनंद दे पाएगी तो और भी गांधी बनने की संभावना यहां से उत्पन्न होती है. I'm finishing. I'm sure that under the skippership of Professor Dinesh Singh, whatever the virtues are there, embedded there in national education policy, this SGT University would be able to reap it and would be able to take it forward. और जैसे कोई भी रियलिटी, गांधी जी ने भी कहा था कि अंतिम सत्य नहीं है, जो भी उस रास्ते के जो पड़ाव आएंगे, उस पड़ाव को उस समय के जो ज़रूरत होगी, उसकी मौजू जो ज़रूरतें होंगी, उसके हिसाब से I'm sure that SGT and other institutions would be able to address those concerns, because success of any policy that would be ascertained on the basis of what organizational structure and the processes you create when it rolls out. Policy अपने आप में बहुत अच्छी होती है, वो तो आइडियलिज्म से बनाई जाती है, पर उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन डिसाइड करता है कि वो अच्छा है या खराब। शुक्रिया, और आपने मुझे मौका दिया, SGT यूनिवर्सिटी ने मुझे मौका दिया अपनी बात को रखने के लिए, इसके लिए मैं आभारी हूँ। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू सो मच।